Once you see it, you can't unsee it. All of us here are representative of much larger bodies. You're not here as an individual, although Dr. Hardy has expressed to us our individual work. You all represent systems who are stakeholders who are part of this journey. Child welfare is not the child welfare agency, but the child welfare system. When I hear children say, what can I do to help them to listen to me? We failed them. What can the adults do to make sure that they have a place to be able to express themselves? So from here and the last few minutes that we have with you, this is the call to action. We purposely scheduled this day to bring key leaders of agencies, departments, industries together to help us understand that the work we have done has contributed to oppression, marginalization, and continued lower outcomes for kids, families, and communities. But being transparent about that and speaking to the truth of that gives power to change. So for us, we invited you here to join this journey, but not to leave it in this room. So a couple of things we'd like to have happen as a result of what you heard here today. We heard a lot of people talking back to Dr. Hardy as he spoke. We heard a lot of people talking back to our young people as they spoke. We heard a lot of sniffles talking back to the video that we saw of the DCF personnel. Now we'd like you to take out the index card that's in your folder. And as you take out the index card, you are going to write a commitment that you have beyond this room that you're taking back to the group that you represent. I'm sorry, I'm being very directive. I'm sorry, I'm really you are going to, you're going to. It's about seeing it, doing it, and being it. So in that index card, take this next minute to write down you as the conduit to the group that you represent here, sitting here today, and write down what you plan to do with the information that you heard all day today.
So now make your commitment real and look to someone next to you and share your commitment. Because if you didn't write it down, you're going to get caught right now. So if you didn't write something down, write it down. The whole point of today, we warned you from the beginning, wasn't to come and have an academic, thought-provoking day. It was to be stimulated and challenged and uncomfortable and real. And the way we make it real is by leaving the room committing to continue the journey. So look at your neighbor, smile nice, and share your commitment. And where are you geographically? Because one thing we really want to make sure that you all do today is as you make these commitments, look to others in your regional area, magnify the work, right? If you're doing that in your agency and someone else is in your region doing it, do it together, magnify it. Nice.
So your self-awareness and sharing it in a staff meeting, and I would add to you, invite others to share back with you what they've learned from what you've said, because the self-awareness is great, but as we heard, it's important to invite others to be able to talk about where they are along the way of the journey. Thanks.
Beautiful. And champions look all different. Champions of this work, spokespeople, vocal people, we all have to be in this because we all hear differently from different messengers.
And the reciprocity of the message is just not going to communities raising awareness. It's hearing from communities about what it is that they need, because we know that our communities are experts in their own lives, and those of us in these positions oftentimes will tell communities what they need versus hearing from communities about how we can serve them better. The champions that we have in this room needed a day like today to recharge us because of that exact moment. The same people get worn down, and that's the purpose. I will not give up, and the reason why you won't give up is because you have an army of people around you to help support you when you feel like you don't.
Exactly. You get the battery charged,
right.
You get your gas refueled. The other thing I have to say on this is it's interesting to me, and this is me as a white woman once again, because that's what I got, saying it's interesting always to hear who is able to quit this conversation and who's not. Because for some people, it's not a choice, right? This is a reality that every morning, no matter what they do, they look in the mirror and this is their work. This is their walk. This is their life. There are people who look like me. Every morning, I can choose, today is a day I'll think about racial justice. Today is not, right? And we all have to commit, particularly people who look like me, that we're not only not going to quit, but that we won't take a day off.
That's correct. And, I went to a workshop one time, and the presenter said that, we often see racism as this thing, or as the shark. And what she said was that racism is actually the water. And so the more that we can think about its undercurrent and how it permeates all of our systems and the way we do business, our practice, our policies, our interactions with each other, the better we will get at understanding the impact of those things. Because even when like in the introduction, Jody asked who's here, and we were kind of taking a poll. At one point, she said, and the parents in the room, and I'm ready to raise my hand as a DCF person, but I have to raise my hand as a parent. We are parents, we are people in the profession, and the impact of what I do also impacts what happens in my house and how I raise my children, and I heard somebody talk about that too. So it's the person and the professional, and in terms of how we can move the needle.
Exactly. Let's all teach our children well. All
including the kids who are biologically ours and the kids who we're responsible for.
That's right. That's right. And one thing on this, because we talked about the age thing before. As far as I'm concerned, you're never too young to start talking about this, because kids find the right way. They find the language that matters to them. I started talking to my little white babies when they were like 2 about race. Unfortunately, my one funny story really quickly was, by the time my son was 3, I was telling him what I called the story of the buffalo, how the white man came and killed the buffalo so they could kill the natives. And my son looked at me and he said, "Are all those bad white European men dead?" I was like, "No, sweetie, you're a little white European man." And he started crying. I was like, no, but you don't have to be like that. It's not your destiny. But regardless, he and I joke about it now. He's 13. It matters. That sticks with him. It sticks with him that that's not what he's going to be. He has a choice. It's never too early.
That was part of having the youth voice here today, because one of the other things that has been sparked by our youth advisory board is that they'd like to have a youth summit. So by giving them voice here, it also extends to what will a youth summit look like, planned by our youth and supported by all of us. So thank you for that. Don't just challenge them to make it look right, make them act right.
Make them act right.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
Many of the kids who end up what you're describing have passed from foster care or have passed from systems that have not served them really well. So absolutely creating those linkages and partnerships to kind of eliminate some of those structural barriers to racism and oppression. So we'll talk.
I was going to say, and all of us having this same job of manufacturing hope, right, in all of our communities, for all of our people. Yeah, it sounds like you didn't just survive, you are thriving, woman.
Your pebble becomes the ripple in the water.
Right.
So,
we have some closing remarks from the commissioner.
As she comes,
I want to set another charge as she walks very slowly up to the stage. Here's my charge, which is most of what you shared was beautiful and inspirational and exciting as we go forward. I want you to take out your pen one more time and now add to your card. You've been re-inspired. You've heard other people's gauntlet get thrown. Think about not even just what you can bring back to your organization, to your agency, but think about, what are you going to tell your family and friends at dinner tonight about your day? What are you going to talk about this weekend with the people that you spend your time with? And let's not make this conversations that we only have in certain places and in certain walls and under certain conditions. But let's practice having these conversations, and let's have these conversations with the person sitting next to us on the plane who is really sad that they just asked what we do for a living, right? The people in line at the grocery store when you're waiting to check out, how was your day? Let's get in practice of having these conversations all the time, because it's always, as Ken told us over and over, it's there, right? It's always in our head in every interaction we have with other human beings. The question is whether we know how to say it and how to talk about it.
And these pencils that you just got, we want you to not just take one, we want you to take several. So when you leave here, it's just not about having something, it's about giving these and giving the message to other people. So we have lots of pencils, and we'd like you to take them with you. And if you notice, they talk about erasing disparities. Usually when you talk about outcomes in the data world, you talk about decreasing. We didn't say decreasing. We talk about eliminating and erasing. All right, so take a few more pencils, share the message, share your passion, share the recharge.